Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host, Paul, and if you've been on Twitter in the last hour, then you've probably seen that there's been a major development in the Jonathan Majors case. Now, personally, I've been getting hit up so much to cover this story, and every time I've been asked about it, I've said, look, I'm going to wait until the trial proceeds and comes to its conclusion because I always think it should be innocent until proven guilty. This case has been a great example of how the court of public opinion can jump back and forth as we've had people switching sides constantly once the story changes. Personally, I think it's best to just always kind of keep your mouth closed because these are quite sensitive subjects, and if you put a foot wrong, it can make you look really bad as well. So I've wanted to keep quiet on this, but since the story's dropped, I've just been getting hit up so much on Twitter, so I thought I'd go through it and just kind of talk about what's happening. Now, Jonathan Majors has been found guilty of harassment and assault as of today, with a Manhattan jury coming to that conclusion. This includes 2 misdemeanor counts of harassment and assault, but he has been acquitted on 2 other counts. Now, all of this comes from Variety. I must admit, I'm not 100% familiar with how American law works. You know, being British myself, I've been told that this is basically the equivalent of gross bodily harm, but whether that's the case or not, I'll leave it to you guys in the comments to correct me, and apologies if I mess up any of this, but I'm reading mainly from the Variety article, so I'll try and be as thorough as possible. Now, he was found guilty on 1 count of intentional assault in the 3rd degree and aggravated harassment in the 2nd degree. Now, this decision comes from a 6-person jury who actually requested to hear the definition of harassment in the 2nd degree. Just to spell it out, this is what the report says. It states that an intent to harass, annoy, or alarm. This is in a case when either a person strikes someone, shoves them, kicks them, or otherwise, and there's physical contact made where someone threatens to do that to someone. Now, it's been a very strange case because there's been a lot of PR coming from Major's side in which his defense have said they've got evidence that's going to completely clear his name. As that came out, though, public opinion on it changed, and people have obviously been internet sleuths and completely overanalyzing everything. Marvel themselves have very much took a step back, and they've not issued a statement about what's going on. However, we have heard rumours behind the scenes that when it comes to Kang, they will be continuing with the character, but he might just get recast. I know talking about Marvel, that shouldn't really be the main focus of stuff, as it is a very serious issue, but obviously, you know, the subscribers of this channel, they follow me for that reason, so we have to at least touch on that a bit. Going forward, I actually thought with the end of Loki Season 2 that Kang was going to be pushed off into the corner, and if Jonathan Majors' name was cleared, then they'd bring him back in. They played it in a way where it could really go in either direction, with the TVA keeping an eye on him if it went the way that it's gone. The way they've left things, though, they're still continuing with Kang Dynasty and also Secret Wars, with Michael Waldron now writing the scripts for them. So with all that effort put into it, I'm sure Marvel are keeping the character, and behind the scenes, you know, they've obviously weighed up what could be happening. Though they said they haven't discussed recasting Majors at all, I think that's not the case, and I think there will have been conversations where they weighed up the options. Kang is of course a multiversal character, and though Majors has played every version of him so far, it's not like they can't bring another actor in and replace him. Now again, I do feel like I'm getting away from the serious stuff by even talking about Kang, so let's go back to the case and just focus on that. So prosecutor Kelly Galloway alleged that Majors was manipulative and controlling through their 2-year relationship, which culminated on March 25th during their altercation in the car. Along with voice recordings, jury members were also shown messages between the pair where Majors had threatened to end his own life over a disagreement. He also tried to dissuade Jabari from going to the hospital to treat a head wound, and in the end, it didn't look good for him. Galloway's closing statement also led into this heavily, as they said, what this really boils down to is 4 simple words: control, domination, manipulation, and abuse. Those are the tactics used by those who commit domestic violence against partners, against Grace. Now, on the other side of this, Major's defense said it was Jabari who assaulted him in the first place, making things the other way around. That's why this case has been so confusing, because we've seen so much conflicting evidence and heard stories that are basically telling the opposite sides of each other. You've got both accusing the other of assault, with Majors' team calling Jabari a liar who just bends reality. Again, Variety have done a really in-depth breakdown on this, and in the end, we're kind of left wondering, well, what happens next? There is possible jail time that could come from this, with Majors potentially serving up to a year in prison. That sentence will be delivered in February, so we do have a couple of months to kind of see how things are going to go. Now, though we don't know what the sentence is going to be for definite, a lot of people that have spoken to me have said that if he goes to jail, it's going to be for a very short time. It is difficult to predict how hard they're going to go on him, but people who are well versed in the subject have contacted me. I'm actually recording this after editing the whole thing, just to add it in. But they said he's basically being convicted of 2 misdemeanors, with the max sentence for that being about a year. So if he does get jail time, that will be the full sentence. However, a lot of people have spoken to me and said they think it's very unlikely that he's going to get that full term. That's even if he gets jail time, as assault in the 3rd degrees, it's quite a common thing to get charged with. And from what I've been told on Twitter, that the jury didn't actually find any evidence of assault with intention. It was just reckless assault. So the intention thing is what people tend to focus on. So in the end, it might not be too harsh of a sentence if it comes down to it. However, you have to also view things from a PR term, and I can imagine that at Marvel now, they're having a bit of a nightmare. Majors' career now, it's pretty much screwed, and it's insane to think how much his star was on the rise. Last year, I remember he had 2 movies that were back-to-back #1 in the world, with Ant-Man 3 and Creed 3 as well. There was also a lot of hype behind Magazine Dreams, which was acquired by Searchlight Pictures at this year's Sundance Film Festival. However, that's been removed from its upcoming release schedule, and it's difficult to think that the guy's going to repair his career from this. Being found guilty in something like this is really, really damaging, and even just the allegations alone, they can completely destroy your career. So a court coming to this conclusion, it looks really bad, and I don't really know how else this can go other than him getting fired. Now, a lot of people on Twitter, they're talking about Josh Brolin, as he was also an MCU villain, but he had a similar controversy happen in his career. Sorry, life. I should say life instead of career there. I think the difference is just the social climate at the moment, and people are far more focused on this, with obviously social media movements as well picking up these stories. If Josh Brolin did it now, I think it would be a different story, and yeah, that's just something to consider when we're going over this story. It's also one of those situations where a lot of people are bringing in their own personal feelings into this, as you've got issues like race, celebrity, gender, and lots of different aspects playing into it. For example, there's some people who think he was persecuted because he's a successful black man. There were some people who were on Grace Jabari's side thinking this is a powerful man who's going to get away with doing something heinous, and lots of people bringing their own personal feelings into it. Disney is, of course, trying to be a family-friendly company, and to have this person leading their biggest franchise as its big bad, it's obviously going to be a PR nightmare. So, and people are asking me what I think is going to happen next, and yeah, I think the guy probably will get fired. Now, obviously, there's people on the other side of this who are saying they don't understand how they've came to this conclusion. For example, the driver was on Jonathan Majors' side, and we have seen the CCTV that shows him trying to run away from the situation. All in all, it's a very complicated situation. I'm not going to weigh in too much with my personal opinion, but this is the conclusion that the jury have come to. So yeah, it's very, very difficult to kind of weigh on this as well, because, you know, it's such a serious thing to be dealing with, and I don't want to just be throwing jokes in there, and obviously people are going to have their opinions. So this is me putting it over to you guys. What do you think? Please keep it respectful as well, and yeah, drop them in the comments below on what you think the whole situation is. I know people are going to talk about Marvel and Kang as well, but yeah, please just try and keep it respectful, because there are people reading this who will be quite triggered by it. So yeah, thank you for all your support anyway on this. Like I said, I've been keeping my mouth shut on it until we got this verdict, and yeah, I was shocked when I read it. You know, I had been following the case. I was, in my mind, I was kind of thinking, you know, it's not looking good. But even to get this verdict, it was a very big shock. So yeah, leave your thoughts below. I know it's not the type of thing that we normally cover, but yeah, just leave your thoughts below, as I'd love to hear from you guys. So that out of the way, thank you, and I'll see you on the next one.